Today we are meeting with Sydney Zaremba-Woodward, a high school graduate. Welcome.
Hi.
So you answered our call this year for Graduate of the Year, and I am pleased to announce you are one of our finalists this year. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So for a little bit of background for everybody, Sydney is from upstate New York. I believe you're 17, correct?
Yes, I am 17.
And you moved to Poland with your family and you completed part of elementary and middle school there, and you joined a performing arts school. But after seventh grade, you kind of caught like the travel bug and you wanted to perform and travel around. So that's kind of how you came across Penn Foster. How did you find us, and what made you decide it was the right choice for you?
So between seventh and eighth grade, I came back every year for in the summer here to spend time. And I was sitting with my family. I was like, I love going and traveling with my dancing school, but it was so hard missing a week or two of school, every dance competition each month. And I was like, this is not working. It's so hard to have regular school and travel and stuff. So my dad's like, well, why don't we look at like some online schools or homeschooling? And we did so much research. I think it took him over a month or something for research. And then we kind of came across Penn Foster, and my dad's like, do you want to try it? I was like, sure. I tried it and absolutely fell in love with it. I'm like, this is what I'm doing. That's it. You can sign me out of regular school, whatever.
Oh, that's awesome. So clearly your parents were on board with it. What did they think about the whole process and your experience?
They loved it because I never really liked a regular classroom because I was always someone that would be in a classroom and then come home and be like, yeah, I don't really like the way they're teaching it. I learn a different way and stuff. So through Penn Foster, they're like, she can learn at her own pace, a different way. And it's so much easier for me because sometimes from school, I would come home and be like, I don't understand a single thing that I read or anything in school. And this way, I was like, oh my goodness, and just keep talking about the topic. And they're like, this is the best thing.
Oh, that's such a nice thing. I can definitely relate on both ends of that. I remember coming home from school and saying, I don't know what just happened today in this class or that class. And now I have a daughter, and sometimes we have the same issue. I mean, she's younger, she's elementary aged, but she'll come home and she'll say, I don't understand what happened in school. And that is a really frustrating feeling, I think, as a student to have that, or even to just come home and be like, you know what, I don't care that I didn't know, but it's such a difference when you can get excited about your work. So, how did you find the adjustment from going to in person traditional school to online?
I honestly didn't really have an adjustment phase because in the US, they teach so much differently than in Europe. So
Mhm.
that was already a transfer when I was little. So this was just like, oh, it's kind of like doing school traveling because we would just have a stack of papers and books we would bring with us, and then you just open them on a table and study with everyone else. So it was kind of just me and my computer. I was just like, oh, this is so much easier than all the papers flipping through.
That must be a lot easier to just kind of have it all in one place and not have to. And that's something we talk about sometimes in our blogs. You don't have to lug around stacks of books and keep track of hundreds of papers. It's all just kind of condensed in one easy, convenient spot. I know the idea was that Penn Foster would help you complete your studies while being able to continue to travel. But of course, COVID put a
Yeah.
damper on that. So, did you feel like you kind of had to hit like a big pause on it? Or did you ever feel like, well, maybe I shouldn't have switched over at this time because I can't utilize it in the way I wanted to?
No, I've never had that. The moment was when everything paused due to COVID. I was lucky because I could make my own hours, and my friends were like, "Okay, I have to log in at 8 a.m. I get off at 3 o'clock. These are my breaks. I have no different like that's my schedule." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't have any of that. I can be like, I'm logging in now. Okay, I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving. I'm going to do something else." So I loved it.
Was I imagine that has to be like kind of a nice thing because you mentioned before, you learned in a different way, than a traditional school would teach. And I think that that's very true of a lot of people. And that's, again, something we talk about a lot, is that no two people necessarily learn in the same way. Do you feel like, if so basically, like, if you're having a moment or a day where it's just like, you know what, my brain is just not connecting to stuff today, I need a break. Did you feel like you were able to take those breaks when you needed to, and
I took
how
them
beneficial did you
all the time. I had doctor's appointments and stuff. I would just be like, today's not a school day. I'll do it tomorrow. And I just put it away. And it was such an ease that I didn't have to do it at a certain time.
Did you ever feel like, especially in the beginning, I know you said, a European system is very different than a US system on how they teach, but did you struggle at all to make a schedule for yourself or to adhere to that schedule at first, or did it come kind of natural? I imagine having like the commitment of dance, you probably are used to having more structure, but
It kind of came naturally just because I already had kind of similar one with traveling because there were set times for studying. And then, yeah, it just kind of stuck. There wasn't really a transition or anything like that.
so you also talked in your application about learning self-discipline. So kind of while we're on this topic, um, a lot of times people, especially initially when they hear about online school or school like Penn Foster, they think like, oh, well, it's just online. It's a breeze. But with the self-pacing, you need to have that diligence and you need to have that responsibility. But also the coursework is, traditional high school coursework. It's not just, whatever. Were there any courses you particularly liked and any you struggled with? And how did you, manage to get through those?
My favorite were all the sciences like biology, chemistry, physics. So anything I could in coursework of Penn Foster, I tries to raise it as high as possible. And I don't really know. I just loved that part of it. My worst ones I needed most discipline for was history because history's never been my strongest. So it always was like, okay, do I really want to do history today? And then it's like, you know what? We have to do it. We'll get it over with. Then I won't have to worry about it.
That's great. Oh, so with Penn Foster system, sometimes, it again all depends on how you like to learn. So some people like to do a little bit of each course, throughout the day, the week, whatever. Some people prefer to focus on one at a time, just like focus on one, get it done, and then move on to the next. Which, did you have a preference?
In traditional school, you have like every subject all at once. But when I came onto Penn Foster and noticed there was like one subject to two subjects at a time, I was like, I can actually focus on each subject in itself and not have to worry about each and every one. So actually, by that, I learned better and more from it than just, oh, focusing for the test. That's all I need to know.
Another part that I personally really loved on your application was you mentioned that Penn Foster helped you to learn to think critically, which is such an important key skill, not just at your age, but I mean, for everybody at any age. But I think it's so important that people learn to do so early. It kind of makes life a little bit easier as it goes on. But can you explain a little bit how you were able to develop that and like what benefits you've seen from it?
So it benefited me in such a way that I had to have critical thinking skills with coursework, how I was like writing papers, but it also transferred into like the real world, going around and like using it on a day to day basis, which I never had to before when I was in a regular school. But since I was more active and traveling all the time, it kind of just went in like kind of a wave and just made it so much easier.
I was going to say, imagine that that was very transferable with traveling, because I'm sure you were coming across a lot of, different cultures and environments that maybe you weren't necessarily used to or exposed to before. So, do you think that helped make those transitions a little bit easier?
It definitely did. It made it so much easier.
So, once the travel restrictions were lifted and you did start to do your traveling, were you still in school at that time?
Yes, I was. I traveled through all 48, like the continental US. I traveled to Canada and several European countries in the time being.
Wow, that's amazing. So, what was a typical day like for you, or did they vary day to day?
It usually varied day to day, but it would more be I would wake up in the morning as my, because it usually was with my dad or my mom. They would be driving me there, and I would study on my computer. Then when I get there, I would do whatever activity, and then in the travel time between them, I would then do school again, and then so
Oh, that's cool. So in addition to traveling in your education, you mentioned martial arts and playing basketball, but you also talked about caring for your grandmother with Alzheimer's, which I have to note, that's not an easy thing for an adult to manage, let alone somebody as young as yourself. So I have to commend you on that because that's really lovely. And a lot of teenagers, wouldn't necessarily want to take that time to do that, but you also do a lot of volunteering in addition to that, such as you give computer lessons to the elderly, volunteer at community luncheons. What makes you want to take on so much, especially so many things that focus on other people?
So, my passion is always to help people in any way possible. So, when my grandma was diagnosed with Alzheimer's a long time ago, but she started getting bad around 2019. And so I came back to the US and stuff for a few months and spent the time with my grandfather and moved in with him to just help around. And I just was like, I want to help in any way possible. And thanks to Penn Foster and my previous schoolings, I also had great like education on computer works. And I've always had neighbors that are elderly around me that always struggle with that. It's like, I can teach you guys whatever you need to know and stuff. So I just love helping people any way I can.
Oh, that's so great. Does that just come naturally to you, or are you kind of surrounded by that, or is it just a natural passion for you?
I think it's natural because my family's always volunteered in every way, and I've done it since I was little. So I guess it's kind of just naturally in my blood, I guess.
I love that. That's really nice. I mean, I think your generation, I'm really dating myself here, but I think your generation, I see a lot more of that now than when I was growing up. And that makes me really happy, as cliche as that sounds. But it's a really lovely thing to see, and it makes me feel like the future is bright. Um, Going back to your schooling a little bit, the introductory coursework in healthcare you said helped to determine your future path. You stated you want to go into medicine. How did those courses help direct you?
So my family's all kind of in medicine and stuff, and I was thinking about becoming a doctor since I was little, and with that coursework, I was like, you know what? I'll take this coursework and see how it is. And I took it and I was like, this is what I want to do. This is exactly what I've been wanting to do for a long time. And thanks to it, I actually got into medical school a few weeks ago. So
Oh, that's so exciting. Do you know what type of medicine you'd like to practice?
I want to go into general first and then
Mhm.
kind of see like through practicing just kind of what I want to go into. I really don't know yet.
Yeah, you have to. I was going to say you have time. You don't have to make a hard decision just yet and pick, because I know that there are a lot of options out there. May I ask what school you're going to?
I'm going to the medical school of Warsaw in Poland.
Wow. Well, congratulations. That's a
Thank
great
you.
outcome. How are you preparing to, I mean, I know you've been going back and forth, but how are you getting yourself prepared for that?
I think because I've been taking some college courses, I went through before and I was like, okay, I need to know all my biology and chemistry really well. So I went back through it and everything. And then now I've just been kind of studying up like anatomy and physiology just to like have like some baseline so I'm not going in and be like, what am I doing? Kind of like going in blind. I don't really want to do that. So I kind of started studying a little bit earlier.
That's a great idea. So obviously, the collegiate system over there is a little bit different. Initially in the U.S., you'd probably have to go through a less specific undergrad program before you could get accepted to a medical school. What is the process like in I guess the
So
application and acceptance there?
So in Poland, you can go to medical school right out of high school, and all you have to do is like you have to do an exam, like an entrance exam and then based on your high school grades and what you get on the test, then they base it off of how many people are going and your grades compared to theirs, and that's kind of how you then.
Excellent. Do you feel like your Penn Foster education helped to get you to this point?
Oh, very much so, especially in the introduction coursework. It helped so much. Just the baseline knowledge that I need to know. It helped a lot.
Do you feel like you would be in this position if you hadn't gone to Penn Foster?
I think I would have to finish probably undergrad and do a little more schooling because I know my friends had a semester of biology and chemistry. They're like, I don't know anything. They're like, I wouldn't be able to do it. So
Oh, so that's great that it's kind of helped to give you a little push a little faster. And you seem like the type of student that's well prepared for it, just in your demeanor and your outlook and your attitude, which is fantastic.
thank
Because
you.
even some people who graduate high school and then enroll in college, you're not always fully. You could be the best student, but you're not necessarily always prepared with that maturity. But it seems like you definitely have that.
Thank you.
So finally, just to wrap it up, if you were to meet another person like yourself and they, traditional school not really working out for them and they're not really sure, what to do because that learning style is just not working for them or it's just not working for, what their goals are, what would you suggest to them about Penn Foster?
I would suggest try it because it's a different style of learning and it's not suitable for everyone, but go ahead and try it because you might not know. You should always try something and it not work than never try and be like, "Oh, I wonder if it would work." It's always better to do it and try and like fail than never try at all.
Oh, what a great attitude. I'm so impressed and I'm so happy you agreed to talk with us today and share your story and the best of luck to you in
Thank you
med
so
school.
much.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Bye.